Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. Brian Winnekins from World Dairy Expo. Thank you to our expo sponsors, including Alcivia Co-op, AMPI, Annabis Silo, Bauer Seeds and Service, Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, along with Compeer Financial, and BioVet. And we're at the BioVet booth, and we're in the exhibit hall 1503, and I'm with Nate Haase, he's the new president of BioVet. And so, Nate, I guess first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Happy to, Brian. Thank you. So I'm a veterinarian. I'm a Wisconsin native, born and raised, proud Lancaster, born and raised in Lancaster, Wisconsin, out in the southwest corner of the state.
Now, your coach for the football team has a Durand connection.
Okay, so you're talking about John Hoke as our coach? Yeah,
yes.
Our former coach, right? So he retired a couple years ago, still really good friends with him, and so I have a little brother that's an assistant coach there right now. So yeah, it's been a little bit of change in their leadership, just kind of like what we're dealing with in BioVet as well, as the new president here. So I'm a dairy veterinarian. I've worked for BioVet since 2020 in some capacity. I taught at the UW, also taught at MATC, and worked as a state poultry veterinarian as well for the state of Wisconsin at DACAP. So last year came into the mix and took on a research and development role with the company, and then due to a very sad and untimely passing of our founder, Dr. Bill Zimmer, now I've taken on that role as president and director of research and development of the company.
So Nate, I guess dairy veterinarian, H5N1, that's been the big topic of discussion, hasn't it?
Yeah, and actually it's part of my background as well. So I've worked on those poultry cases both in 2015 and this current outbreak that's been going on for 3 years now for the state of Wisconsin as well. So once we started seeing cases this spring pop up into the bovine world, unfortunately I had a lot of experience in this, so I actually worked right into my wheelhouse as far as this disease, this virus. I had a lot of understanding. Obviously we don't understand a lot of it, what's going on in the bovine world right now, but our company has been particularly positioned to address this with our supportive care and our electrolyte products that we produce.
We haven't heard of any deaths of dairy cows, and I think that's something that we have to kind of keep in mind here, right?
We do, and that's interesting. I've sat on a couple calls with diagnostic labs throughout the United States over the last couple of weeks, and there's a lot of comorbidities and mortalities that occur. So we have heard actually some mortality rates have been popping up a little bit, but they think maybe the heat of the summer is probably playing a major role there too. We know that the typical cow that's been affected with this disease has been a little bit older, kind of mid to late lactation is kind of the typical. So those animals are somewhat more predisposed to have some of these more chronic diseases too. So you couple on the heat of the summer, now you have this virus that's causing some issues there too, and so we have seen some mortalities pop up. Everyone's a little hesitant to say what the main reason for that is, but we definitely think that flu is playing a role.
My poultry farmer friends are they've asked this question since this made the jump.
Yes.
When it hits poultry, my whole flock gets wiped out. Why aren't we doing that with dairy cattle?
Well, and that's the big question everybody wants to answer, right? So what we're seeing very, very historically as in the last 6 months as far as this disease occurs, is decreased milk production, and we're seeing fevers in some cases. Now we're seeing a little bit more of those pop up, and rumination decreases, right? We're not seeing the mortalities, we're seeing the morbidity cases. Likely what's happening is this virus just hasn't evolved to the point that it's able to cause the massive type of systemic disease that it causes in poultry. You're exactly right. When we see this in poultry flocks, it's pretty much 100% mortality that we're seeing, and that's the reason why we're trying to stamp this out by doing the euthanasia that we do. In cattle, it's a completely different scenario, at least for the time being. The biggest fear is the longer it stays in these herds, the more of an opportunity that virus has to mutate and become more virulent, and the big fear is that we start seeing more deaths that occur with this. If we can keep it where it's at right now and at least address it, quarantine or separate those animals out and let these herds, kind of let it run its course, the goal there is that we don't have to worry about maybe long-term repercussions here that would cause maybe a more pathogenic form of this virus occurring.
Talking with Nate Haase, he's president of BioVet from World Dairy Expo today. Okay, so what can dairy farmers do to keep it away, short of nothing comes onto the farm? I mean, what do they need to do?
Yep. So the big thing with the poultry flocks, right? We can't control wild bird migrations, and we knew that that was going to be impossible to keep some exposures at bay, right? So biosecurity became the role, and that is PPE, personal protective equipment. Making sure you're using clean coveralls, clean boots, potentially wearing, hand covers and eye covers, not sharing personnel from farm to farm to farm without having maybe some downtime between them. So I think we can learn a lot from the poultry farms there. The difference is, and the reason why I think we were taken a little bit off guard with the bovine side, is we can control movement of cattle to some degree. Now, we're in a world right now where we're shipping animals all over the place. We have calf raisers and heifer raisers and coming back to the dairy farms. So I think taking that, the kind of transit very seriously as far as how animals are moving off and on to farms. And biosecurity is going to be the key there. We've seen a lot of cases. Colorado's a great example, where we saw associations with poultry flocks in close proximity to dairy farms. And actually, we're seeing poultry flocks becoming infected from the cattle strain that's there. And so we know that biosecurity is on the tip of everyone's tongue, but we always know we can be better at that. So that's the key. And unfortunately, there's no magic bullet here. We don't have a vaccine that's widely available. We have some development that's going on right now that could potentially mitigate this, but not necessarily prevent it. And so I think we're at this point right now where we have a lot of experts in the room. None of them are really certain what's going on to the full degree right now, but they're working towards trying to get a better understanding of this. As far as treatment goes, and as it gets onto these farms, supportive care is the name of the game right now. And so there's no magic bullet there. We don't have anything that's an antiviral that's going to necessarily clear these. It's keeping these animals hydrated, keeping them ruminating, and that's where our company has really, we've been able to provide a service to a lot of the farms that have had this virus, because that's what we do. We provide supportive care for animals to try to maintain their health systems naturally. So electrolytes and rumen support boluses. Our ruminator product is one that we can't keep up with right now, because we're seeing so much demand, especially on the West Coast right now, where we're seeing more cases pop up every single day. To try to keep those animals actively ruminating and healthy, that has been shown to shorten the course of these diseases. Even though we're not eliminating it, we're decreasing the amount of time that these animals are showing effects.
Talking with Nate Haas, he's president of BioVet. Had a chance to talk with Nate at World Dairy Expo. Okay, we're coming into wintertime.
Yes.
How can BioVet help the dairy farmer keep their dairy herd healthy over the cold winter?
Sure. So, the beginning of our company 30 years ago was really in the direct-fed microbial side. And that's where, we talk about yogurt for cows, right? That's Dr. Zimmer's catchphrase, and we kind of continue to look at that, even though we've evolved to produce more than just DFMs now. But really maintaining consistency in those animals' appetites and their metabolism has been the key. So as we're getting into the winter months, oftentimes we're getting into new feed sources from the summer and the fall harvest. That's where we start to see some crashes that could pop up here and there. So maintaining those ups and downs and try to flatten those out so that we have those animals staying on that strong plane of nutrition, that's always been our biggest bang for our buck and our return on investment with our products. And so incorporating those in. Now, the one thing about these type of products, they're not treatments, they're not therapies, they are really meant to be maintenance type administrations. And so if we can get those on board now, while the weather is still nice and we still have some relatively cool mornings and warm days, once that temperature drops, it's you don't want to necessarily have to address that at that time. It's preventive type maintenance that we actually look at. So getting animals on a good strong DFM regimen, keeping those rumens going, it tends to help us with milk production, help us with reproduction as well. If we have a situation that we pop up and we get a little bit of maybe moisture here in the late harvest season, we always run into possibilities of mycotoxins and poorly ensiled feeds. So we do have products that we produce that are, made for that, right? To try to bind up some of those things that these animals are getting into them. In the United States, we tend to shy away from the term mycotoxin binders, but we do have products that do have those profiles that are in the formulas that try to keep those animals eating, keep those animals ruminating, keep them metabolizing while they're in maybe situations with a little bit different feed sources.
So farmers had questions or wanted someone to come out to maybe chat. I don't know if you'll be able to come directly out, but if someone wanted to have someone from BioVet come to their farm, how can they reach out?
Sure, the easiest way is they can go to our website. It's www.bio-vet.com. You can also give us a call. The numbers on that website. And I'll tell you, we're the kind of company that it's not unusual if we get a call from a farmer that I'm the one that actually directly will answer their call. So they can get the president of the company on the phone to help brainstorm and strategize as far as how we could address their needs. That's not a problem at all. And I'm a veterinarian myself. I'm a licensed veterinarian, and I maintain my practice license. I'm happy to give that advice as needed to all of our customers.
Again, visit bio-vet.com. Never know, you might get Nate here answering the phone and coming out to the farm. Nate Haas, president of BioVet from World Dairy Expo. I'm Brian Winnikins for WRDN.